This meeting is being held in compliance with the Brown Act. SCAG offices are open for members of the public to attend and participate in person. Instructions for providing public comment have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda packet. If a member of this body is attending remotely but is not at a location specified on the agenda, they may observe and comment as a member of the public, but may not participate in any member discussion or voting of this body. For all members participating remotely, please ensure your microphone is muted when not in use. Please state your name during deliberations and whether making a motion or offering a second. Any voting member or member of the public calling into this meeting by telephone can press *6 to mute and unmute. All telephone participants should identify themselves prior to speaking. SCAG encourages all members of the public to participate in its meetings. We are committed to holding meetings accessible to people with disabilities. For members of the public requiring ADA accommodation, please call 213-236-1895. SCAG offers free interpretation services for members of the public needing information in another language. Please call 213-236-1895. The meeting will now begin.
Okay, good morning and welcome to the LCMC, Legislative Communications and Membership Committee. I'm grateful to see so many of you on here, but I guess what we need to do is find out first if we have a quorum. Today is May 26th and the time is 8:33, and I hope everybody had a good weekend. And it was, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to take this today. So, because we had no electricity last night and they said it was going to last throughout the morning. So I'm good to go now. Anyway, so as a reminder, if a member of this body is attending remotely but is not at the location specified on the agenda, they may observe and comment as a member of the public, but may not participate in any member discussion. So let's go ahead and could we have, Orange County Supervisor Donald Wagner, who's dressed up in a coat and tie, could we have him lead us in the pledge to the flag, please?
Madam President, I'd be honored. And if you would all stand, if we can get a flag on the screen, or if you have one in your offices, and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. And best of luck to you, Don, in your race for the Secretary of State. That's great. We love seeing people that were formerly SCAG be sent right to the top. So
your lips to God's ear. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
Okay, let's see. Emma, do we have a quorum right now?
I am confirming that we have met quorum as of 8:30 this morning.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. And before we get to the rest of the agenda, I'd like to introduce our special guest speaker. Is Senator Ben Allen available right now? Okay, I'm assuming not. He is at the airport, waiting for, I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah, hi
San
there.
Francisco Senator Allen is on.
It
Oh,
said recording in
terrific.
progress.
Okay.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is it possible for me to jump on in maybe 7 minutes? That might work a little bit better for my
Sure.
situation at the airport.
I was going to say, it looks like you have a seatbelt on, so I'm assuming
Yeah,
you're in the
I'm
car.
yeah. So I'm just getting dropped off at the terminal right now. So I'll go through security and I'll jump on in maybe
Okay. All
yeah
right.
7 8 minutes.
You'll
Yeah.
go ahead and tell us. All right. Best of luck getting through security.
Thank you. I think yeah, I've got it down. I do this every week, so I got to have a routine.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. So let's go ahead and, okay. Okay, we're gonna just go ahead and do some housekeeping items right now. First, we're gonna go with public comment. And these are comments received prior to the meeting and comments for matters not on the agenda. So I'm going to open the public comment period of the meeting. And this is a time for members of the public to offer comment on matters that are within SCAG's jurisdiction, but are not listed on the agenda. Staff, have we received any written public comments?
We did not receive any public comments before or after the 5 p.m. deadline.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any members of the public who wish to speak?
No raised hands via Zoom, and we do not have any members of the public in person.
Okay, so I will now close the public comment period for matters not listed on the agenda. And what about review and prioritize agenda items? Do people have anything that they would like to do at this time? Okay, now I will just go ahead and mention one thing that is a high priority today, at least for Alan Wapner. I believe he's the birthday boy today. Is that right, Alan?
Yes, that's me.
Wow, okay. Well, you don't look anything older than that 39 years that we've always known that you've told us you are.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet, Margaret.
Well, anyway, happy birthday. And I hope
Thank
you and
you.
Judy do something fun tonight.
Baseball, baseball. That's it.
And that's fun. You're
Go
right.
buzzers.
All right. Thanks very much, Alan.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, next item is the consent calendar. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak on this item?
There are no raised hands via Zoom and no members of the public in person.
Okay. Okay, so does anyone want to pull any agenda item and discuss it prior to that? I see no hands raised. You know, they ought to make bigger hands. Sometimes that just totally flies right by me, but I don't really see any hands. So let's go ahead and can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion
Thank you, Wendy.
for the consent calendar to approve it.
Okay,
Wagner second.
okay. So Bucknam and Wagner, motion.
You got it.
Second. And could we have a roll call vote, please?
Cindy Allen,
Aye.
Ray Balius,
Is that Ryan Bayless? Aye.
thank you. Wendy Bucknam,
Aye.
Ulysses Cabrera, Jenny Crosswhite,
Crosswhite, aye.
John Dutry,
Yes.
Margaret Finlay,
Yes.
Gary Gardner,
I will abstain from item number 1 and vote aye on item number 2.
thank you. Mike Goodsell,
Yes.
Kurt Hagman, Jan Harnick,
Yes, and I'm having problems with my video, but hopefully I'll get through this.
Laura Hernandez,
Aye.
Patricia Lock Dawson,
Aye for everything but one, and I'll abstain as well. I wasn't at that meeting.
Ray Marquez?
Yes.
Gil Rebelar? Suli Saro?
Aye.
David Shapiro?
Yes.
Donald Wagner?
Wagner, aye.
Alan Wapner?
Yes.
Mark Warnick? Mark Warnick?
Aye.
Thank you. Thomas Wong?
Yes.
Frank Yokoyama?
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, with 16 yes votes for item number 1 and 2 votes to abstain, the committee has approved the consent calendar.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And now I think Ben's made it through security. Senator Allen has made it through security in record time. So are you ready to get on, Senator Allen?
It's a little crazier today than I'd anticipated. So give me another few minutes if that's okay.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you.
I'm really sorry. I'm sorry about this.
Don't worry about it. Okay, so we're going to go then with item 4, which is our legislative advocacy update.
Of course. I can go ahead and get started with the legislative advocacy update item. And as soon as the senator is ready, I can take a pause and I can continue that after his remarks. So I'll go ahead and get started with that. So thank you, Chair. Item 4 is an informational item to provide a status update on SCAG's recent advocacy efforts. So I'll provide updates on both of our sponsor bills as a few other bills that we're following as per our support positions on them. So getting right into it, we have SB 1087, which would, for those that are new on the committee and may not be as familiar with it, it would reform and modernize SB 375 from 2008, which requires SCAG to develop our region's sustainable community strategy, which is the plan that SCAG develops that identifies GHG reduction strategies to accelerate our region's progress on state climate, housing, and transportation goals. So last month, I reported that SB 1087 passed 5-0 in the Senate Environmental Quality Committee. Since then, SB 1087 passed in the Senate Transportation Committee 9-1 and in the Senate Appropriations Committee 5-0. SCAG Executive Director Komi Ajise was joined by MTC ABAC, the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Bay Area, their principal legislative advocate for housing and local government, Julie Snyder, to testify on SB 1087 in front of the Senate Transportation Committee. So we're now waiting for SB 1087 to be heard on the Senate floor before it moves to the Assembly. And so we're continuing the process of refining the bill, and we're beginning preparations to send representatives to testify on the bill on behalf of SCAG and the Assembly, where we anticipate that the bill is going to be referred and heard in the Assembly Natural Resources and Transportation Committees. Second, we're continuing our efforts on AB 2002 by Assemblymember Solache, which would codify the REAP 1.0 program. So last month, I shared that we gathered support letters from various agencies and local jurisdictions, and we've continued those efforts with almost 30 entities having expressed support, with one of the latest being the San Diego Association of Governments, or SANDAG. And last month, I also shared that AB 2002 advanced 11-0 in the Assembly Housing Committee on April 8th. And I'm very happy to share that since then, the bill passed unanimously 5-0 in the Assembly Appropriations Committee, and now 68-1 on the Assembly floor. So our AB 2002 has officially made it out of the first chamber and now is moving to the Senate. So we're preparing for the bill to be heard at the Senate Housing Committee likely in mid-June, and we're continuing to refine the bill to get it across the finish line. On the federal side, I wanted to provide another update on the Federal Road to Housing Act. That is the congressional housing reform package that they've been considering since November or October, and SCAG took a position on it last year in November. So last month I shared an update on the back and forth between the two houses over the Road to Housing Act, noting that the Senate merged both versions, both the House and the Senate version, into one reconciled 21st Century Road to Housing Act, maintaining a lot but not all of the provisions from the original bill, on which SCAG had taken a support position, and added a few entirely new provisions. And some of the new provisions were controversial, including some at the request of President Trump, that had expressed the desire for the bill to include restrictions on large institutional investors' purchase of single-family homes and forced sales of built-to-rent properties, as well as a temporary prohibition on the Federal Reserve establishing a digital dollar. So in response, the House released an amended version on May 19th, which omitted 6 sections from the Senate's merged version of both bills, including one of SCAG's party provisions, which would have permanently reauthorized this Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program, which provides funding specifically for communities in the wake of natural disasters. So that one is no longer in the latest version of the bill. However, in good news, the new version that the House released also removed the CDBG adjustment pilot that I had presented and provided updates over the past few meetings, that the Senate had brought back in their version. So the current version of the bill does not include the CDBG adjustment pilot. And the House amendments also restored 18 sections additionally from the House's original version of the bill, excluded from the Senate's previous version, though none of those were part of our support position, so don't need to get too in-depth there. And the amended version also did make some modifications to the controversial provisions that the president had requested. So, despite all these various additions, modifications, and back and forth between the two houses, staff still believes that the current version aligns with SCAG's original support position priorities. And so at our DC trip last week, our delegation that traveled to DC on behalf of SCAG for our DC transportation reception still advocated for the bill to pass, and also for the restoration of the CDBG disaster recovery program, and passage of the latest bill. So a more comprehensive report on the May DC trip will be included in next month's agenda packet, but I wanted to provide a quick update on our advocacy efforts on the Road to Housing Act there. And our delegation must have been pretty persuasive, because as soon as we left DC, the House passed the amended version of the bill in a bipartisan 396-13 vote. And while this is a good sign that there's momentum behind this bill, it remains to be seen whether the amendments are still going to satisfy the request that President Trump had made to Congress to include those various controversial provisions. And to further complicate matters, President Trump has requested that Congress combine the Road to Housing Act with voter ID legislation. So that would likely significantly lower the chances of that package passing. And separately, several senators have indicated that they might be unable to support the latest version after the House amended a few provisions that were added by the Senate, which is interesting because that was the reason the House was not supportive of the Senate's version. So they're having still a lot of back and forth. And while we still remain optimistic because there seems to be a lot of momentum behind the bill, we'll continue to monitor its progress and continue to express support for its package, since all of the major players, including the U.S. Conference of Mayors, are of course still in support after all this back and forth. And I'll take a quick pause. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like the senator is ready yet, so I can continue with the report. So last month, staff presented a recommendation to support the Bridges and Safety Infrastructure for Community Success, or BASICS Act, which was adopted by the Regional Council and outlines various regional and local priorities for the related to service transportation reauthorization, which is the process by which the federal government reauthorizes all the federal transportation programs, which happens on a 5-year basis. And so the current surface transportation bill that was signed into law by President Biden in 2021 is set to expire in September. So Congress must pass a new surface transportation reauthorization bill by that deadline, or a lot of those programs will expire. But since the time when we presented on the Basics Act, on May 17th, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee released a draft surface transportation reauthorization bill. The Building Unrivaled Infrastructure and Long-Term Development for America's 250th, or more simply, the Build America 250 Act, which is a bipartisan 5-year, $580 billion transportation reauthorization proposal that already does include a lot of SCAG's priorities and a few outlined in the Basics Act. So the bill also includes, as a revenue measure, annual fees for EVs and hybrid vehicles of $130 for EVs and $35 for plug-in electric hybrids, which, while that'll help address some of the funding gap that the Highway Trust Fund is experiencing, it's far from a full solution, but that's one of the major revenue generation measures that's included in the current draft. So after release, the House T&I Committee held a 14-hour marathon markup session on May 22nd. And after considering and passing a few amendments, but considering a lot of different amendments, the committee overwhelmingly passed the Build America 250 Act by a vote of 62-2 with amendments. And overall, the House proposal contains $329 billion for federal aid highway programs, $102 billion for public transportation, $64 billion for railroads and hazardous materials, $17 billion for freight and multimodal transportation systems, and $5 billion for highway traffic safety, as well as another $5 billion for motor carrier programs. So,
David, I think I see Senator Allen. Are you ready, Senator Allen?
I am ready. I'm ready. Thank you so much for your patience.
Oh,
Thank
gosh.
you.
take a pause.
No problem. I did want to just go ahead and tell people, and I don't want to get into too much of this, but just a little bit of background on Senator Allen. He represents the 24th Senate District, and basically that covers the West Side, Hollywood, South Bay, Santa Monica Mountains. He currently chairs Senate Energy, Utilities, and Communities Committee and the Special Committee on International Sporting Events, which I am most excited about. And maybe you could give us some inside scoops on that. But prior to serving in the legislature, Senator Allen served as the president of the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District Board of Education, lectured at UCLA School of Law, and worked as an attorney in the private and nonprofit sectors. So I know we have limited time with you. We're very excited to hear from you, and take it away. And then we may have time for a couple of questions too.
Well, thank you, Margaret. Appreciate it. I'm happy to jump on the next meeting when things are a little less crazy, and appreciate your flexibility. Obviously, an energy committee right now, in addition to all the work that's happening with regards to insurance and environmental protection, we're looking a lot at this recent report that came out from the California Earthquake Authority that seeks to really try to grapple with these massive price increases, liabilities that exist. And there's a real focus on recovery and resilience and insurance, but also trying to strengthen and harden our utility infrastructure. I represent portions of the fire zone, and it's been a very difficult process working to try to make sure that we get our community back on its feet. Insurance and the lack of insurance has really become a major detriment to the recovery. And I'm working on legislation right now to provide low interest loans for property owners to make home hardening and defensible space upgrades to their property. These upgrades could reduce a property's fire risk by up to 50%, but there are significant financial barriers that prevent people from taking these steps. And we want to make sure that there are additional resources. We also want to work with local government to try to figure out ways to ensure that we're rebuilding in a smarter way, in a way that's more resilient and more focused on reducing risk in the future. Obviously, trying to help people maintain their insurance coverage or at least stay in the private market is really important. That's something that we're spending time on. We want to give people some more protections from non-renewals. We want to get people more notice before their coverage is dropped, and we want disclosures as to
Ben, I think we've lost you.
leading that's now leading to a whole set of increased burdens on the fair plan, which we're all subsidizing, unfortunately. So we need to do more to keep people insured in the private market. The last thing I want to mention on insurance, we want to give local public agencies more transparency by requiring health insurance brokers and agents and related professionals the opportunity to disclose compensation that they receive for receiving and selling various health insurance products to the public agency. This is SB 1244 that we're working on with the School Boards Association and the League of Cities and the California Association of California School Administrators. And we've seen a whole series of conflicts of interest that need to be disclosed to help public entities make the most appropriate decisions when their tax dollars are being spent. We've seen situations where there's brokers or agents that are pushing agencies towards certain insurance products. They're getting a lot of compensation associated with it, and the city or the school district isn't always aware. Also working on trying to help mobile home residents in the wake of the terrible fires that we experienced. Mobile home parks are the largest source of unsubsidized affordable housing in the nation. We want to protect and preserve them, especially during this housing shortage that we're facing in California. We've got a bill to provide a path for residents to purchase a park if put up for sale in order to preserve the use of the land as a mobile home park, as long as basically giving the residents the opportunity to match a bona fide offer on the market. There's another bill, SB 1093, which establishes transparency and communications requirements, clarifies tenants' rights post-disaster. A park in my district was destroyed in the Palisades fire, and I really struggled to work with the park owners to recover, to try to make sure we can have some more protections for people. People have, the park owners haven't communicated. They didn't even let people back to their properties. So that's been a real area of work and challenge. Obviously, I continue to work on environmental issues with our cities, trying to make sure that we have a better system in place for the recycling or management of medium-sized batteries. We have a battery extended producer responsibility program that we're working on with the cities, SB 501, because as you know, you guys all are oftentimes getting letting the bag proverbially. So we got two bills on that space, SB 501, SB 615. We're working with the EV manufacturers. So the SB 501 is the medium-sized batteries. SB 615 is for the EVs, the bigger batteries. And we're working with the manufacturers to create a recycling system that will reduce disposal costs and environmental harms that local governments end up having to bear, local ratepayers, of course. And so that's another thing. We're also working on, you mentioned the sporting events. We just had a big hearing on the infrastructure, transportation, and sustainability ahead of LA 28. Asked a lot of tough questions about the ticket prices at the Olympics that I know we're all really concerned about, because we've learned a lot about how LA 84 worked so hard to make sure that we had a really affordable, accessible Olympics. And I think there are concerns about whether 28 will be that in that same spirit. We want to make sure, one of the many things we talked about was the public transit system. We're excited about the extension of the Metro D line. There's more to come before the Olympics. We certainly hope that the transit will see a bit of a renaissance in the wake of the World Cup and the Olympics. It's such a big part of sporting events in other parts of the world and even other parts of the country. And we need to revitalize our own approach to transit in the city. And we hope that this will be an opportunity for folks to have a positive, safe experience that will encourage them to be more inclined to use transit. We've got LA Metro's got some budget requests that we're hoping to fund some remaining projects ahead of the games. We've got LA 28. It's got a whole slew of commitments to purchase renewable energy for the games venues, supplementing with solar and battery storage when needed. That's great. We also have LA Clean Tech Incubator at Lacey. They're trying to grow the EV charger availability system and install more solar and storage projects, electrify more buildings ahead of the games that reflects the wider region's needs instead of just a discrete need for venues. We want to make sure that all the investments we put in, from the Olympic villages to the transportation infrastructure to the electricity infrastructure, will leave lasting benefits for the region and not just be a one-off. That's been at the heart of the approach to these games. So we've certainly done really well building out clean energy, but there's a backlog that's preventing us from actually connecting the energy to the grid and bringing it online. And that's been one of the primary points of focus since this last year. and it's going to need our continued attention as we prepare for the games ahead. So that's just a little window into some of the things I'm working on, but it's a massive portfolio. The Energy Committee is enormous, and happy to take a couple questions.
Thank you. Wow. All this and running for insurance commissioner also.
Yeah.
I can't imagine your family never sees you.
Yeah, well, it's part of why I try to squeeze in these. It's crazy. Here I am at a gate, because I'm just trying to maximize time with my family while I'm also. I got to I dropped my kid off, my daughter off at school today, and I'm still making the flight, so it's just good.
Well, I appreciate all of your information with regard to insurance in fire zones. I live in a very high fire zone. This area burned back in November of 1980.
Oh God.
Trust me, when they talk about the fair plan, I know it is decidedly unfair.
Unfair.
So, anyway,
Madam
all
Chair?
right. Do we have any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Go ahead, Mark.
This is Mark Warnick. What you didn't mention in his bio is that Ben is a great human being, a great father, great husband, and just a good friend to all those cities in his district. I've known Ben for over 8 years now, and he puts his money where his mouth is, and he has never forgotten local government. I just wanted to make sure people know that, because I can attest to it, because he's been my senator for almost 8 years, and California Contract Cities, League of California Cities. He's been a friend to all of those, or both of those organizations. So I just wanted to make sure people know that. I know he's running for insurance commissioner, and I hopefully he wins. But he's a great human being as well, and like I said, he's just a good guy.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate that. But you know what? I already voted for him.
Good.
Okay. Other questions or comments for Senator Allen? I was looking at you and thinking, did he go into like?
I'm on the plane now, but I really appreciate those comments, Mark, so much. And I've one of the things, quite frankly, that I really enjoy about serving in the legislature is just the deep, close relationships that I've been able to have with our local governments. And I'm going to miss it if I'm elected to the statewide position, but I'm going to try to maintain them, obviously. And I got to say how much I appreciate all of you. You all work so hard to make your communities better, oftentimes without a lot of tools, either financial or regulatory. And I just appreciate the strong relationship we've had over many, many years. And I'm happy to jump on to the next meeting, and appreciate you guys very much. And good luck to everyone with their elections and all the work you're doing.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Anybody have any last quick things to say? Okay, you know what? Then we're going to let you get on your airplane. And like I said, best of luck. We hope the best for you. And we've seen the insurance commissioner's office, so we know where it is, and we're going to come up and see you.
Well, I appreciate that. And one thing I will say, there is a lot of work to be done in coordination with local governments on the insurance with regards to risk reduction. And it's going to take, I think if you look long term at what we're going to need to do, I want to pull together regional task forces of local governments working with fire experts, insurance people, to come up with a set of changes that will really result in insurability in communities. One of the things I'm really fearful of is that people are doing so much work to reduce risk, but it's not being done in tandem in a way that will actually result in insurance reductions for people. And I think people will only invest in these reductions and in these hardening if they know there's going to be real availability on the insurance side. So I look forward to working with you on that and many other topics.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you. Good luck catching your plane, and we'll look forward to talking with you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay. So, thank you, David. Sorry to cut you off right in the middle of your presentation, but we know he had a plane to catch too. So we'll go ahead and take up where you left off.
Certainly, that's quite all right. Happy to accommodate the senator. So I had just outlined some of the top line numbers for a lot of the different types of funding that are in the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee. And I was just about to share that of that funding, our federal lobbyists estimate that local governments are going to have access to nearly 22% of the funding that is included in the current proposal for the surface transportation reauthorization. And uh, all of the key provisions included in the House T&I proposal are outlined in our staff report. However, some may be slightly different after the markup session where they amended various provisions in the bill. But overall, we still maintained a lot of the core provisions that SCAG uh, will care about and prioritize in the current draft. So I wanted to provide a few highlights. We're getting to the end of my update on this, but the current reauthorization proposal included is reauthorizing, as in the title, several critical programs for SCAG, including the Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Grant Program, or TRISI, the Railroad Crossing Safety Improvements and Elimination Program, the National Intercity Passenger Railroad Partnership, Safe Streets and Roads for All, Wildlife Crossings Pilot, the Bridge Investment Program, the Bus and Bus Facilities, the SMART Grant Program, MEGA, and the Infra Grant Programs. So all of those are reauthorized, and however, the bill also proposes eliminating certain programs, some of which are priorities for SCAG, but these include Healthy Streets, Protect the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Grant, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Grant Program, and the Carbon Reduction Program. So in the current proposal, these will not be reauthorized and would not be able to get more funding. So lastly, it also created a few entirely new programs, which first is a Surface Transportation Accelerator Grant, or STAG, kind of similar to SCAG, but it's intended to replace the RAISE program, and so it'll serve the same purpose. And there's also the Transportation Assistance for International Games program, which includes an authorization for $50 million annually for 3 years to support large events, including the Olympics, of course. And a few other highlights include making MPOs like SCAG eligible for more grant programs like the Nationally Significant Multimodal Freight and Highways program, as well as the Infra Grant program. And the Build More Housing Near Transit Act, which allows capital investment grant applications to receive additional points for being located in areas with pro-housing policies. That provision had been removed from the Road to Housing Act and the various amendments that have been made, but it was included in the current proposal for the House Transportation and Infrastructure Surface Transportation Authorization Bill. So that's kind of cool to see, even though it's taken out of the other bill now, it's in this proposal. So that one will continue to hopefully maintain in the bill so that it can be included in the final version. But that's it for my presentation. If there are any questions on the state bills or the federal updates that I just presented, I'd be happy to take those now.
Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. Anybody have any comments or questions for David? David, looks like oh, wait a minute, I see Wendy. Yay, Wendy, go ahead.
Just wanted to share, because I went on the trip to DC last week, and I had a great time advocating on some of these issues from a federal standpoint. It was very I think it was very productive. We met with both sides of the aisle, and one of the things that came up that I thought was very interesting, just to share a little bit of extra, just shed a little bit of extra light, is that when we met with Congressman Calvert and we were talking about funding for the Olympics, one of the things he said, which, I think we've got to do a better job, is that he said, are we going to send all this money to LA, and is it going to be used for the Olympics? And I said, well, that's exactly the purpose of SCAG, being in this mix and working on what we're doing from a transportation coordination standpoint. And it's going to benefit other entities, such as the Inland Empire, Orange County. We have to have transportation and services that are going to get people into LA, because many people aren't going to be staying in LA. They're staying in surrounding areas simply because of the logistics of just how many people can be packed into LA. Certainly the athletes will be there and in near their competition areas, but we did share that with him. And I think that really helped for us to be that entity that was doing that's overseeing this transportation plan and the mobility aspect of it. So I hope that helps. And I think anything that we can do to encourage our state representatives that are asking for assistance to really kind of come alongside us and really work that that side of the aisle that right now has the decision making power, to really encourage them to show that it is a regional improvement. I think that is going to be really important, and that was really highlighted in that particular meeting. And then also I would just ask on SB 1087, I had mentioned I want us to make sure that we're working cooperatively with the Building Industry Association. David, and I just want to know could you give an update, because I know there was a meeting and I want to make sure that we are working with them, because there were some things that they thought might be difficult for the home building industry that they wanted to just make sure we're very clear. In other words, they weren't certain in the bill and they wanted to make sure that was clear. And I can't give you the details because I don't have them, but please, if you have any info.
Okay, thank you for further update. And Wendy, just to let you know, you will be sorely missed when you are termed out. I just want you to know that. I love working with you.
Oh, thank you, Mark. That's nice. But we got time. We're good.
Okay, I see another hand up there. Jan Harnick.
Good morning. I want to just kind of on what Wendy just said. It was uncomfortable and unfortunate what our congressman said. It was understandable, but it's unfortunate. And I do want to just acknowledge the fact that Wendy answered it beautifully. She responded brilliantly to the issue. But there is that parochial element that unfortunately is permeating these things. And if things go well in LA, we all have to remember it benefits us all. It's not just about LA, and it benefits us long term and far after the Olympics have come and gone. But Wendy dealt with it beautifully, but it is something that we must continue to talk about, because this is not just about LA, and to take a parochial approach to it like that, it's really not helping us. So that's all I have to say, but thank you, Wendy, for stepping up there with our congressman.
Thank you, both of you. Now, Francisco just said he has an answer. Francisco, you're kind of up next anyway. So do we just want to move right to you, which would be, unless we have more questions or comments on David's. Okay, then let's go ahead and go into Francisco. He's going to talk about the state budget update, may revise, but before then, he's going to talk about item 4 and Wendy's question. Go ahead, Francisco.
And members of the committee. Member Bucknam, we have been in active conversations with BIA, both BIA SoCal and BIA California. So at the state level, we are having continued conversations with them and their lobbyists. And at the local level, as you alluded to, we did have a recent meeting with the BIA Southern California chapter. They were able to share their concerns in a letter. And then most recently, they sent over some recommended red light amendments. So we will continue to look those over and work collaboratively with them to ensure that concerns are addressed as the bill continues to move forward, given that we do value them as a stakeholder.
Okay, I see a thumbs up from Wendy, so all's good. So, do we have any other people that want to have something highlighted in item 4? If not, we will go on to item 5. And do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on item 5?
Do not see any raised hands via Zoom and no members of the public in person.
Okay, then Francisco, our legislative affairs supervisor, would you please lead us through this item?
Pleasure to hand this item off to the subject matter expert. As noted in the staff report, Governor Newsom did unveil his much anticipated May revise on Thursday, May 14th, as is constitutionally required. And joining us this morning is Nick Romo with Crew Strategies to walk us through the proposal and answer any questions anyone has.
Good
Okay.
morning, everybody. Thank you.
Welcome, Nick. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you, Chair Finley. Good morning, everybody. Good to see so many familiar faces. Nick Romo, Recruit Strategies. We have the honor and privilege of representing SCAG up here in Sacramento. As Francisco mentioned, this is the governor's final May revise. He is certainly looking multiple years into the future. He's trying, as he stated several times throughout the year, to leave the next governor with a sound fiscal picture, as did Governor Brown. I think well regarded in terms of his handing off of the state budget to then Governor Newsom. The state budget, big picture, it's a $350 billion document that has a significant amount of general fund reserves and special funds. What the May revise really benefits from is that since the January budget, the budget now has $16.5 billion more revenue across kind of the budget window, which is last year, this year, and next. And largely due to tech, the tech industry doing so well, the AI industry definitely leading the way on that. The May revise, as you may be familiar with, is really a document that kind of updates the January budget. So a lot of things were not talked about coming into May because they were untouched or unchanged. The big picture items that I wanted to highlight for this group, one is housing and homelessness. On homelessness, the last year, if you remember, HHHAP, the state's premier homelessness program, was only promised another $500 million, which will be round seven of HAP. The governor has not changed that number. The big city mayors, the counties, the League of Cities, the state senate has been strong support for a full $1 billion for round seven in HAP. In fact, the Senate actually also committed to $1 billion for round eight, which would be into the future, so next year. And so this is a major point of contention between the governor and the legislature right now is to fully fund HAP. And I know a number of folks on this call are standing arm in arm in that fight for more homelessness dollars. The governor also released, along with the May revise, released a trailer bill related to HAP program that increases, in his vision, accountability, more reporting, more local incentives within the HAP program. So one of which one of the policies that he's introduced is a requirement for a local match of HAP dollars in order to continue to receive and spend the dollars. This is very broad. It includes things many of you are already doing, using some of your general fund, using some special funds, things like that nature. But it's certainly something that the legislature and all of us need to engage with his office on to make sure that we get the details right. If you've heard the Big 13, Big 13 mayors, they consistently said they do not shy away from accountability and reporting metrics. We just got to get it right so that the dollars are as flexible and usable as possible on the ground. The governor, related to housing, he also introduced another trailer bill related to affordable housing. Essentially, it's a proposal that says if you want to have a project that receives state affordable housing dollars, then your local impact fees and other related fees need to be reduced or removed. This is a broader effort around reducing the cost of building affordable housing. That's, again, devil in the details in terms of this trailer bill. So a number of folks are reviewing it, and you'll hear a lot more about it going into the summer months. Another item I wanted to highlight for this crew that's new in the May revise is that there's a $100 million disaster rebuilding fund that the governor has proposed. It's stated to the stated intent is to support rebuild by expanding access to financing, lower borrowing costs. We are waiting more details on this proposal, but it seems to be something like a revolving loan fund. I think many folks have been talking about something like this to support LA rebuild and other rebuilding areas that are devastated by wildfire. Certainly something I'm sure the great Senator Ben Allen is working on too. And so we will provide an update to this crew on those conversations, what those impacts will be, how our communities can use this funding if it is approved in the final budget. Related to transportation, this is a good one for many cities. The January budget did not include money for Clean California, which I think many of you have enjoyed, which is grant program to support litter abatement, encampment response, beautification projects, particularly along highways and along corridors. The May revise does include $40 million for that program. I think it's been a pretty successful program. Certainly excited to see this in the budget. Something that many of our cities will and counties can apply to going forward. Related to the LA 28 games, there is a trailer bill as well that would allow for actually proposed automated enforcement and continue planning along the dedicated Olympic traffic lanes that have been proposed. They were approved in last year's budget. And so now we're coming following up with additional funds and additional policy around automated enforcement of these dedicated Olympic lanes. And I know that's part of SCAG's TDM work around the Olympics. The last thing I'll say, one major topic that's big in the news, talked about quite a bit, is the state's 911 service upgrades. The next gen 911 upgrade that has taken several years. This budget continues to support that, and also provides ongoing funding to staff a Southern California emergency response center related to this. And so something we're watching very closely as well. And then last thing I'll say, Chair, thanks for the time, is the governor and legislature, they have until June 15th to pass a budget in order to continue moving forward with their paychecks. And then what we've seen in the past is there's an updated budget bill just before the July 1 fiscal deadline that generally it reflects the three-party agreement between the governor, the Senate, and the Assembly. So the next 6 weeks are critical in this space. We continue as SCAG, continue to fight for funding for planning and programs similar to REAP 1 and REAP 2. They follow along with our legislative advocacy on AB 2002 and SB 1087. And so certainly in the ring, in the fight, and what I'll say is when you all came up here for Summit, I think you all left a great mark and a great kind of trampoline for our work to continue pushing for more housing dollars for RENA and other types of programs. So I want to thank you all for that. I'm happy to take any questions. A lot in this budget and much more to come in the next 6 weeks. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick. Okay. Gary, I think your hand is raised. Is that
Yes,
right?
thank you. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. One quick question, if I can, on the HAC program in the budget. Do you know if there are still restrictions in that require most, if not all, of the money to be used for Housing First programs? And if not, can we make it maybe a longer term project to make sure that other programs that aren't necessarily Housing First can tap into those dollars?
Yeah, I think largely the funding is still geared toward housing first programs, Gary. So you're certainly right about that. I think long term, you start to see the legislature already thinking about how to appropriately incorporate and allow for the use of HAP dollars for like sober living homes, particularly that are completely sober living homes, right? And not just mixed service homes. You see that. So I remember Haney out of San Francisco is working on that. The housing department is starting to clarify where and how dollars can be used in that space. but certainly a long-term discussion around that for sure is needed.
I appreciate that, and I won't go into a lot of it right now. I can just tell you that we have a very successful model here, as do a couple of other cities that we've been working with, that moves away from housing first, more into the treatment first models, and they're very successful, at least in our neck of the woods. And so, I'd love to see us be able to tap into those HAC dollars. And it's probably too late this year to get any kind of put of that into the budget, but that's something I'd love to see us discuss for a long-term strategy. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Nick? Okay, then let's go ahead and we're going to go to item 6, and that's also going to be from Francisco, and it is the annual California Transportation Congressional Reception and Hill Lobby date. So I think you have an update on that. Is that right, Francisco? And first of all, are there any members of the public that would like to speak to this right now?
No raise hands via Zoom and no members of the public in person wishing to speak.
Okay, then Francisco, take it away, please.
Are you able to pull up the slide presentation?
Yes, 1 second.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm pleased to join you this morning to share a brief overview of our annual advocacy trip to DC, including the California Transportational Congressional Reception, which we co-hosted with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. Next slide, please. As alluded, our trip did take place last week from Sunday, March 17th through Wednesday, March 20th. This year, our delegation included President Ray Marquez, First Vice President Jenny Crosswhite, immediate past President Cindy Allen, LCMC Vice Chair Jan Harnick, LCMC member Wendy Bucknam, and Regional Council member Daniel Ramos. Here's a photo of this year's delegation on the speaker's balcony made possible through Congressman Ken Calvert. Next slide, please. This year, the top 3 priorities we focused on included surface transportation reauthorization, including both our board-approved priorities, as well as seeking support for the Basics Act, which the Regional Council officially took a support position on following the LCMC's recommendation, funding for the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and housing, highlighting both key programs through the annual appropriations process, such as CDBG and Pro Housing, and the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, for which our board adopted a support position. I would note the fortuitous timing of our presence this year, as the much anticipated House version of the Surface Transportation Reauthorization was released literally the night we arrived in DC. As David noted, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee officially named the bill the Build America 250 Act, or Building Unrivaled Infrastructure and Long-Term Development for America's 250th Act. While we were actively in the weeds analyzing the bill, key highlights of note included an increased federal share to 90%, up from 80% for our PL funding program, consolidation of several prior programs into allowable uses under existing programs, such as broadening allowable use of CMAQ funding for projects that deploy advanced transportation and congestion management technologies, and also codification of the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program, placing a greater emphasis on implementation. And we're excited by all of these, as these were all asks that we took with us last year to DC and have continued to advocate for. Now, as the House T&I committee marked the bill on Thursday and advanced it out of committee on Friday by a vote of 62-2, we were able to engage in real-time share feedback and respond as the bill was reviewed and negotiated. Additionally, the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Committee released their appropriations bill the last night we were there, which included $875 million for Olympic and Paralympic Games. In total, the combined games need is $1.98 billion. As this was included in the appropriations bill, it is still subject to the normal appropriations process, which means it won't get released until the first or second quarter of 2027 if Congress passes the funding package in December. Funding will be distributed via the Federal Transit Administration to assist with the increased planning, capital, and operating activities needed to provide all necessary transportation during the games. Now, I won't credit Member Bucknam for admonishing Congressman Kincalver, a key appropriator for this, but I will give respect where it's due. And finally, the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, which we just heard all about, was actively being negotiated between both houses as we met with relevant committee and member staff. Next slide, please. On our first full day, we managed to meet with Rebecca Higgins, Vice President of Policy with the Eno Center, who provided expert insight and historic context on surface transportation reauthorization after having slept only a few hours, given that the bill had just been released the night before. Jonathan Cusimano, Director of Federal Affairs for the Office of Governor Newsom, who still met with us even though the governor was flying into D.C. later that afternoon. Representatives from the U.S. Department of Transportation, who we thank for having helped finalize our necessary agreements to be able to begin work on our Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, as well as provided an update on planning and funding needs for the upcoming Olympic and Paralympic Games. Andrew Pearlstein, Senior Advisor for Transportation Policy with the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, where we learned that the Senate is actually continuing to very much so write their own version of the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill, so it's not the end of the road for that bill. Madeline Marr, Housing Policy Advisor for the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, who was instrumental in authoring the Road to Housing Act. Brittany Coley, Legislative Director for Transportation and Infrastructure with the National League of Cities, and Eric Zimmerman, Executive Director with the National Association of Regional Councils, both key negotiators in the authoring of the Basics Act. And finally, Councilor Georgina Barquette, Head of Border and Special Affairs with the Mexican Embassy. Next slide. The next day, we really kicked it into gear as we met with offices of Representatives Jimmy Gomez, Luz Rivas, Mark Takano, Dave Min, Pete Aguilar, Julia Brownlee, Robert Garcia, and Laura Friedman. I will note that the House GOP leadership adjusted their schedule late the week before from Monday, Tuesday to Friday as they waited for Senate Republicans to send over their immigration bill, meaning many of the members did not fly in until Wednesday. That being said, we were still able to meet with Congress members Ken Calvert, Sidney Kumlager Dove, and Young Kim, as well as Senators Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla. And then also from the administration, we were able to meet with Aaron Sabo, Assistant Administrator for the Office of Air and Radiation at the EPA. I did want to note we found out Thursday that Congressman Ken Calvert has officially signed on to the Basics Act as a co-sponsor. So an exciting update following our trip. Next slide, please. We concluded our trip with our annual California Transportation and Congressional Reception hosted with MTC. This year, due to the sudden release of the Build America 250 Act, the House T&I room became unavailable, given the committee needed the room to market the bill. Luckily, staff was gracious enough to secure us the House Judiciary Committee room. With approximately 200 attendees this year, guests included transportation partners from throughout the state, as well as House member and U.S. DOT staff. Additionally, we hosted Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, Congressmember Latifah Simon from Oakland, and Congressmember Maxine Waters from Hawthorne. Next slide, please. And it's just going to be a slide that says questions. That concludes my presentation and my update on the trip.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like you guys did a lot of work back there. Wow. Okay, do we have any questions or comments for Francisco? Okay. I have to tell you, Francisco, every time I see your name, I think of on Elf when he goes, Francisco. That's a fun name to say. So, all right. Since we have no more questions or comments, thank you, Francisco, for that. And now we're going to allow public comment for in-person speakers, and this is going to be for the next 4 items: chair update, Javier's update, future agenda items, etc. Do we have any, Emma?
We do not have any hands raised via Zoom and no members of the public wishing to speak in person.
Okay. I do not have anything of substance as the chair update. Just to go ahead and thank President Marquez for the appointment to chair, and for new people that have not been on this committee before. You can see it's kind of a heavy hitter committee when you've got a number of past presidents like Alan Wapner and Cindy from Long Beach and Jan from Palm Desert. It's kind of, and then we also have Jenny Crosswhite and then Patricia Locke Dawson. Talk about intimidating. Following Patricia Locke Dawson in anything is tough. So, anyway, I just wanted to again thank Ray for the appointment, and I think that's really kind of the sum and substance of what I have to say. But now for something truly important, we have Javiera Cartagena, who is Chief Government and Public Affairs Officer, and she's going to provide a Government and Public Affairs Division update.
Chair, and good morning. I want to welcome all our new members of the committee and thank our returning members as well. Our team is here to help. So if you have any questions or need of navigating this complex and very nimble committee, please let me know, as well as our team is here to help in any way that we can. I also wanted to thank our legislation team, our entire legislation team, and our DC advocates for a well-organized trip to Washington, DC. It was very hot. I appreciated Member Bucknam's fan that she lent to me during the trip. And it was very meaningful, even though we had a few changes to the schedule due to the schedule change, and but I appreciate it. So a huge round of applause for our team that did such a great job, and it was really meaningful to be there during reauthorization conversation. So appreciate that. Please let us know if you have any feedback. We're always trying to make our summits better and our receptions better. And, we appreciate feedback. As one of my managers here say, feedback is a gift. I also wanted to give you a little recap of our General Assembly and congratulate our Media and Public Affairs team on the job well done there. Feels like, that was just, a couple weeks ago, but we're still analyzing a lot of the data that we're getting, and happy to see many of you at the regional conference. We really hope that you enjoyed this event. We also had a couple of curveballs at the event with, a local friendly clown that attended, as well as we had to move the reception from outside and inside. So just always appreciate how well the team works together with all these changes that come our way. This year's conference was really well attended, with a final attendance count of 843. Notably, this year we had a smaller gap between registration and attendance, which we're always trying to close that gap each year, with 90% of those who registered for the event attending the conference. So we had about 936 registered and 843 that attended. So we're continually working to improve this event every year, and appreciate your feedback once again. And our annual survey to collect that feedback, it just closed last week, so we're still reviewing that, and we will plan to bring a more fuller evaluation report to you next month, and as well talk a little more about it, our EAC retreat that is coming up in just a couple of weeks. So that concludes my report, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for the time, and again, appreciate the team for a job well done in DC last week.
Okay, thank you, Javiera. As always, you just illuminate our lives with all this great information. So, are there any other questions or comments? Are there any future items that people would like to see addressed?
Madam President, this is Ray Marquez.
Hey, Ray.
Can I jump in real fast?
Sure.
First of all, I just wanted to thank staff for doing such a wonderful job in Washington. And then we ran into a gentleman named Frank. He was there representing another agency, but it was nice seeing you there, Frank. Thank you so much. But our staff did such a great job, and all the regional council members that did attend, you guys are just amazing. I just want to say thank you. Wendy, I learned a lot about you, and you kept me in place, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. And also you, Jan. Both you guys are going to be missed. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for our staff and everybody that attended Washington. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Good words. Thank you very much, Ray. Okay, so any other questions or comments? Cindy, it's so good to see you really healthy.
Well, thank you. It's good to see everyone. And again, I concur with what President Marquez said, that just such a great trip in Washington. And I felt like we really did, push the envelope and had great conversations. And what we're doing is really effective. So kudos to the staff and to the lobbyist team and everyone who made all those meetings happen.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. All right. All I can say right now is, oh, wait a minute. Okay, John from Montclair.
Yes, good morning. I just wanted to say thank you to Ray Marquez for appointing me to this committee. I'm looking forward to it. I realize it'll be a lot of hard work, but I don't mind the challenge. Thank you.
You never stand down from a challenge. We know that, John. Okay, so if there are no other questions or comments, I'm really excited to serve as chair this year. A little intimidated, but very excited. And our next meeting will be June 16th, and I'll be very excited to see everybody there. And I guess we'll see other people at Regional Council. I think it's next week. So anyway, thank you, staff, for putting it all together. And to the rest of you, have a great week. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.